All right, for more insight into tonight's indictment, we're joined by Laurie Levenson, law professor at Loyola Marymount University. Laurie, appreciate the time. Let's start with this sweeping set of charges. 41 counts total, 13 against Trump. How big is this, and what do you make of these racketeering charges?
No, it's huge. I mean, this is a stunning indictment. We thought that the case in Washington, D.C. by special counsel Jack Smith was going to be the big case, but it's not even close. This racketeering indictment brings in so many charges and so many defendants and takes it through every single lie that Trump made or people made on his behalf. So we have well over 100 acts in furtherance of the racketeering charge. And this is a really powerful charge because it allows them to put together many different conspiracy schemes. It also carries with it, frankly, a mandatory minimum. So if Trump or the other defendants are convicted, they don't have a chance at probation. They'll do at least 5 years in prison and maybe up to 20 or more.
Wow. Laura, you mentioned the number of defendants, 19, including the former president. How much of an issue will that be for the Trump legal team, especially if any of those turn on the former president?
Well, you've hit it on the nose. I mean, it's a real problem, I think, for former President Trump, because there are going to be a lot of people trying to save their own skins by offering to cooperate against him, and especially the many lawyers where he's likely to say it's their fault. That's the advice they gave me. I think it comes a point where they stand up and say, no, not exactly, and they don't take the fall for Trump. It's also true that you have people who will say, you know, look, maybe I did something, but I shouldn't be part of such a huge conspiracy. Give me just a little bit of conviction, not this case that can dramatically change my life.
Yeah, Laura, there are a number of differences between this case and the two federal indictments, including no chance of a presidential pardon. How do you rank this in the scope of his legal troubles moving forward?
This is very significant because I think that some people think Trump is running for president so he can avoid being convicted on the federal charges, but it wouldn't help him. Even if he gets elected president again, he doesn't have any power to pardon himself on a state offense. And in fact, in Georgia, not even the governor could pardon him. It would have to be the pardon board and after serving 5 years in prison. So this is a really significant case against him, both in scope, the potential for exposure, and the fact that it'll be very hard for him to keep a whole group of 19 people together in solidarity when they go to trial.
Yeah, you mentioned that exposure earlier. Laurie, I also want to ask you, something the DA talked about from Fulton County was the difference between overt acts and predicate acts. Can you speak to that a little bit?
Sure. For a conspiracy to exist, you have to show that it got off the ground. And not every co-conspirator has to do acts, but you have to show that at least 2 acts were done. And in that regard, those acts in themselves don't have to be criminal. They can be, as alleged in the indictment, making phone calls. Predicate acts are criminal acts that are in furtherance of the racketeering conspiracy. They've got both of them listed here. They have nearly every phone call listed, and I think that's a showing that they have recordings. That's going to come as a surprise, frankly, to Trump and the fellow co-conspirators. They've got recordings of so many of these calls, and they're not just calls in Georgia. They're calls to other states, whether it be Arizona or Pennsylvania, to try to get those people to help them with their scheme.
Yeah, a very significant indictment indeed. Laurie Levenson, law professor at Loyola Marymount University. Certainly appreciate you joining us tonight.
My pleasure.
Former President Trump's legal woes stretch beyond this case that we've been saying. A federal indictment is tied to his involvement in the January 6th riot at the U.S. Capitol. Prosecutors have proposed that trial start in January of next year. A judge is expected to make a decision on a trial date later this month. The former president is already scheduled to stand trial in March in New York. That case stems from hush money payments made during the 2016 campaign. Then in May, he's set to face trial in another federal case in Florida. That case stems from classified documents found at his Mar-a-Lago estate. You can find extensive coverage of this indictment on our website, KTVU.com. Our online coverage includes a link to the full indictment you can read.